Um, the force of the water pushing against a house. Anybody that has waded through a rushing stream knows that force of water. Raging flood waters a foot deep can sweep a person off your feet. And I'm always dismayed after every flood everywhere in the nation. There are always pictures in the paper of children playing in the floodwaters, which is dangerous for a number of reasons. One is this, that they end up getting swept down into the river. But second, because floodwaters are often contaminated. And here's an example of hydrodynamic forces. We all know about wind threat. You know, we think about 100-mile-per-hour wind, and our building codes make us build against that force. But water moving 4 miles per hour has the same force against a structure as a 100-mile-per-hour wind. So debris impact forces, that sometimes causes the most damage. Let's say somebody builds a house, elevates it properly. They elevate it to 2 feet above the base flood elevation, which is what the building code in New York State says. And their insurance agent comes to them, or their bank comes to them and says, you need flood insurance. That flood insurance, by the way, in that scenario will be very affordable, only a few $100s a year. But some people are still going to complain that, why do I have to get flood insurance? I'm above the flood. But there's still something holding your house there. The house isn't floating in midair. So you still have the potential for trees, propane tanks, whatever floats or moves by floodwaters, to be smashed against that house and cause damage. And the flood insurance will still protect against that damage. And then after and here's some examples of some debris impact. The debris in some cases can be ice. Very old picture, I think from 1910 in Herkimer, New York. Of course, we just got some additional flooding in Herkimer. I'm not sure whether the debris impact is the bridge against the house or the house against the bridge. But then after the flood goes away, and think of the things that are soaked with water. As I said, a lot of times this water is contaminated. That doesn't go away. The smell doesn't go away. The mold and mildew lingers and causes long-term health effects. Also, think about the things that are stored in the floodplain. Here's an example of some sort of an industrial lab or workshop with hazardous materials upset by the flooding. Here's a dairy plant in Delaware County that got flooded a few years back. And there's some barrels of who knows what floating in the floodwaters. So I'm going to briefly get into some of the definitions, some of the standards, some of the requirements. And first I'm going to throw out this term. The term is the Special Flood Hazard Area. So what is the Special Flood Hazard Area? On your new flood maps, it's a blue shaded area on the map. It has either a Zone A or a Zone AE associated with it. Down in the coastal areas, they could also have a Zone VE, which is an area that has wave run-up on top of the flood elevation. This is known as the Special Flood Hazard Area. This is the area that is being regulated. This is the area that has mandatory flood insurance purchase requirements. So people think of it as the 100-year floodplain. It's more accurately thought of as the area that has a 1% or greater chance of flooding every year.